Alright guys, welcome back to another video. It's been a while, I know. I kind of was contemplating there about quitting YouTube. Quitting YouTube? No. So, there's just so much river pressure these days, so many people on the water, that I really was like, man, do I want to keep doing YouTube? Do I want to, risk blowing up some rivers? Because I do get people that are like, oh, I watched your video and now I know where to fish and, or I know where your honey hole's at. Well, here's the thing. For one, if it's a honey hole, I'm not going to show you it. I'm not going to film it. For two, I really try my best not to blow up rivers. I don't say river names. I don't, if you already recognize the spot, then obviously you fished it before, you know where it's at. So I really try not to, but I was kind of like, should I just quit YouTube? But I think I'm going to do less videos, try to do more quality videos, and do more of them based on like winter steelhead and beginner fishing to kind of help people out, but not necessarily burn spots. I don't want to burn up spots because it takes years to figure out what rivers to fish, where the fish are going to be, when they're going to be there. That is all just time on the water, years of experience, an experience that I feel like if you just listen to me tell you, it's not nearly as fun as, doing the full experience of going and figuring it out yourself. That's part of fishing, figuring it out yourself by being on the water, putting in time. However, I'm going to do more instruction videos on how to just simple, not super in-depth, but just simple fishing and how to get started. So this is going to be, what to get started winter steelhead fishing as far as lures. So I'm going to go over 4 categories. I'm going to go over beads, worms, jigs, and then I'm going to add spinners and spoons as the 4th one. So I'm just going to show if you're, it's almost winter steelhead season. We're just about getting there. You go into the store. All right, I want a steelhead fish this year. What do I buy? Look at the shelf and it's just full. So I'm going to start off with beads, and I'm going to show you just a couple beads to get started off with. Now, obviously there's hard beads, there's soft beads, there's the incognito beads, which is what I mostly fish. But I'd put that aside and I would look at size and color, because for the steelhead, the biggest thing is getting a bait in front of their face and getting a bait that they can see in front of their face. So size and color is going to really determine what I'm going to fish. So I'm going to go with, I'm going to start with the beads. So for beads, you walk into a shop, there's a million beads on the shelf. What do? I keep it very simple, and this is the box I carry with me most of the time. I would start in the mid-range size, or I would go with like a 10, 12, 14 millimeter. Those are the 3 sizes I'd start out with. They work good in anything low, they work good in high water, 10, 12, 14 millimeter. You could even cut out the 10 mil. Heck, let's say 12 and 14 millimeter is going to be what I'd recommend to start with. For color, I would start with your natural I would go with natural orange, kind of a naturally pink, and then kind of something kind of in between or kind of washed out, broken up. So I would go with maybe like a natural cerise or pink color right there, and probably a 12 or 14 millimeter. I would go with a more natural red or orange kind of looking color, and again that 12 or 14 millimeter. And then I'd go with something kind of in between, something kind of broken up, that's like a broken up orange, more pale orange. And those are the 3 colors I'd get because they cover the spectrum. Steelhead, the way they see and the way they pick up things, it's on the color spectrum. So you throw something in the water, depending on the water color, and it's going to show up a little better, right? So if I throw in an orange one, it's going to show up a little bit better in a certain condition than that pink one is, right? So I feel like those 3 colors each have their own kind of stand out in a certain condition. So I would take those 3 colors, I'd buy 12 and 14 millimeter in those colors. I'd go to the river, I'd look at the water, I'd look at the bead, maybe set the bead in the water. I do that a lot, kind of, set it in the water, see what it looks like, see which bead is popping out in that water, and there you go. That's the one you want to fish. It's as simple as that. Not going to the store and buying all kinds of crazy different colors. I would go with like a more pink, orange, and then maybe more of like that like broken up, washed out egg color. Those three are going to be kind of natural, but they're also going to stand out in certain waters. Go to the river, stick them in the river, see which one stands out. That's the one I'm going to fish for that day. And that's just really simple getting started. Now we're going to move to jigs. Jigs is kind of the same thing. I fish mainly 3 colors in jigs, and these are the ones I'm going to recommend to you. So the first one's going to be that peachy color. Now that peachy color right there imitates a shrimp really well, right? Sand shrimp or like ghost shrimp, coon shrimp. It's kind of a really shrimpy pink color. That's one of my favorites. As far as size, I would go with an 1/8 ounce. An 1/8 ounce is going to be a good all-around color for the Pacific Good size for the Pacific Northwest, an 1/8 ounce. It's going to cover you in that higher water. It's going to be okay in that lower water. It's not going to be, it'll be perfect in like that mid-range. But a lot of times here in the Pacific Northwest, we have like a bunch of rain, rivers get high, they get colored up. That's when, you might want to throw like a 1/4 ounce size, or you might want to throw something brighter. But then what happens is we have like 2 or 3 weeks where it gets cold temperatures, freezing temperatures, and we don't have a lot of rain, and the rivers drop and get really low and clear. So that's when you'd go maybe to like a 1/16 ounce. But for overall, it's going to work in between all that, and you can fish it in those conditions, is going to be the 1/8 ounce size. So I would stick with an 1/8 ounce jig starting out. I would go with more of that peachy pink color, really natural shrimp color. Steelhead orange. Steelhead orange is an absolute killer. Doesn't matter the water. I've caught steelhead in crystal clear water, green water, dirty water. For some reason, that like steelhead orange jig absolutely murders. So I'd go with that one. And then I'd go with a red. So you got kind of the same spectrum as the beads. You got orange, pink, orange, and then like that kind of washed out shrimpy pink, and then a red. This is the white and red. Of course, that one's tied up on a leader. But those are the 3 jigs, 1/8 ounce size, I would start out with. Because what happens is people go to the store, they go, oh my gosh, look at all these beads. They buy 1,000,000 beads. Oh my gosh, look at all these jigs. I'm going to buy 1,000,000 jigs. And then they get to the river and they end up tying on one thing, whether it be a jig, a bead, a worm, whatever, and they end up fishing that all day long, and they may end up catching a fish on it, they may not. So my biggest thing is start with smaller amount of gear and switch between more. Okay, so start out with these couple colors, and then switch. Oh, I'm going to fish a bead for a little bit that looks, like I said, put it in the water, see what it looks like. If it stands out really good, fish it. Fish it for, maybe an hour or so, and then be like, okay, well, I had no luck. Now I'm going to tie this jig on and fish it. Fish that through there for an hour. Then I'm going to tie a worm on. So worm, same thing. I'd go with a 1/4 ounce head. 1/8 ounce head. 1/4 ounce would be good in high water. But again, all around 1/8 ounce head, and a couple worms. Honestly, these are the 3 worms I have with me in my backpack right now. And this is like hiking around on smaller rivers, so I'm not in a drift boat where I can have a bunch of gear. I hate bringing a backpack that weighs 20 pounds. I've done it for years. My big old Mustad backpack that had a giant worm box, a giant bead box, but I really like to just dumb it down because, like I said, I only end up fishing a few things while I'm out there. So these are just a few colors that I fish a lot that are my fish producers. So, of course, the red haze worm, kind of that reddish body, white tail. This one has a blue head on it, kind of for contrast. But you can go a white head on it to match it. You can go a black head. You can go a pink head. The head color is really up to you and what you want it to look like. I just had a bunch of blue heads. So the red haze, white tail, killer. And then I have, a black haze. This one's a little bit different. It's not quite that red. It's kind of more translucent, I don't know what you would call that, like a translucent, not a cerise, but almost like a fire red, like a translucent fire red color. You can see the hook through it, so it's translucent. Black tail. Again, I have a blue head. You could throw a black head on it, a white head on it. It's up to you. So those are my kind of all-around water colors. And then one of my favorites when the water gets higher is this guy right here. Again, a blue head. I actually hooked a giant on this last winter. It's in one of my old videos. I'll link that video below. Hooked a big one on this. I mean, I'm talking probably a mid to high teen steelhead, which is a nice steelhead for around here. I mean, anything in the teen range for a steelhead is a pretty nice steelhead. And I would say that's probably where it was at, in that range. On this worm right here, the water was a little bit higher, a little bit colored up, but still really fishable. This like cerise pink, it's kind of translucent, but it's kind of not, depending on the light you look at it in. That popsicle orange tail, I like to call this color popsicle. I don't know, it's just like a cerise, bright orange tail. A blue head that's very contrasty, right? You have a lot of different colors, kind of ugly looking, but stands out in the water really, really well, especially when you have that darker green water turning into that maybe a little bit milky or off-colored water. So those are 3 worms I'd recommend, and maybe not even these exact colors, but just something kind of that more red, natural color to get started, and then something that is going to be good for the off-colored water, something like this popsicle color here. Or another good one I don't have laying here is they make one that has kind of like this pink body with a chartreuse tail. That's a really good one in higher water as well, but really simple. I would just grab a couple worms in that kind of reddish color, and then something that will kind of stand out in the dirtier water. And that is it for worms. So again, super simple colors. And I'd work on more switching between styles versus switching colors. Like I said, find the water, look at the water, go, that bead looks like it's gonna stand out. Set it in the water. Oh yeah, that bead looks good in that water. I'm gonna fish it. I would do that with the worm. Find the worm. Ooh, this worm's a little too bright in that water. Oh yeah, that one looks really good. I'm gonna fish that one in that water. Fish it. Same with the jig. Same thing. Ooh, that one looks good in this water. I'm gonna fish it. And just kind of bounce between those 3 colors that day. Obviously, if conditions change, maybe it's raining out, the river starts to get a little bit colored up, you might go, this one, I'm kind of losing it. I can see it down there, but it's not popping out as good. So maybe I'll throw this one. Oh yeah, that one looks better now. Now the water's that one pops a little bit more. That's really what separates a good steelhead fisherman from not, is paying attention to the conditions and looking at your lures and going, that one looks good in that water. It looks like the fish are going to be able to see that. Because a lot of it is getting the bait in front of the fish and getting it so the fish can see it. That is the 2 biggest things, being in front of the fish and being where the fish can see the bait, right? It stands out, they go, oh yeah, that's there. They see it, it's in their zone, they bite it. That is as simple as it can be sometimes, right? So, but a lot of people don't pay attention to what the water looks like. They don't pay attention to what their color looks like in that water. So that's something to pay attention to. Now, the 4th and final thing is going to be spinners and spoons. Now, spinners and spoons, personally, I do not fish a lot of them in the wintertime. I fish a lot more spinners in the summertime or for like coho, Chinook salmon. Not a lot for steelhead in the wintertime. But my biggest ever steelhead came on a spinner, almost like this one, pretty similar to that color there. Number 4 blue fox is what I like to fish a lot for my spinner. And spinners can be very deadly because not a lot of people fish them. Like I said, I caught my biggest on it, just over 20 pounds. I have a video of that one as well on my channel. But a lot of people do not throw spinners for winter steelhead, and they're really, really missing out because you get these holes, especially these hatchery holes, where you've got a line of people throwing bobbers, right? They're throwing bobber and bead, bobber and bead, bobber and bead, right? Or bobber and worms and bobber and jig, right? They're bobber fishing, And they hook those aggressive fish, those biting fish, pretty quick off of the bat, right? And then after that, kind of slows down. They may pick up a few fish. And then, get in the afternoon, slow it down a little bit. They've caught all the bitey fish. People start leaving. Then you can go in there behind them, right? Don't go in there and be like, oh, I'm going to go throw a spinner in between all their bobbers, because that's how you're going to get your teeth knocked in on the river. But you can wait till they kind of start clearing out, or maybe there's not a lot of, you saw someone fishing this hole in the morning and now they're not there. So now you can go behind them with a spinner and pick out a lot of these fish that have seen the bead, have seen the worm, seen the jig over and over and over. No one threw a spinner in there for, who knows how long. They may have never even seen it since they've been in that river system. So you bring the spinner through there. A lot of times it's different. It's not the bobber fishing that everyone else is doing, and you can get a fish to react to it. So spinners can be very deadly sometimes. Like I said, I honestly don't fish them enough. It seems like almost every time I actually fish them, I catch a fish on them. But then 90% of the time, I don't even bring one with me to the river. So then spoon, same thing with a spoon. A lot of these runs, people are drift fishing or bobber fishing over and over. And same thing, throw that spoon in there, let that spoon swing through there, bounce through there. And a lot of times you can pick up an extra fish that wouldn't bite the bobber rigs. So anyway, that is just some simple lures to get started in winter steelhead fishing. If you go to the store and you're like, what do I buy? I want to start steelhead fishing. Those are some 4 simple lures to buy. If you guys like this video, obviously my videos don't get a ton of views, but I'll say if I get 10 likes on this video, I'll do another video showing how to actually rig up each one of these on my rod. If that video gets so many likes, then I'll do an on the river casting. Okay, this is how you want to cast, this is how you want to fish. So anyway, like this video if you guys want to see that. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. It's free, just a little subscribe thing down there. You click on it. All that does is help me out, and then helps me be able to make more videos. And then there's a little bell right next to it. You hit that little bell, and that's going to notify you every time I upload, so you won't miss the next one. If I make another tutorial video, you can see it, you won't miss it. And so anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for your support, and hope you guys learned something here. I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys.